Hey, boys and girls, it's your old pal Andy France, the Grand Poobah of Judson Sunday School, with a question for you. What is the difference between a saloon and an elephant fart? A saloon is a bar room, but an elephant fart is a bar-room. And with that, welcome to another episode of Virtual Judson Sunday School. The theme for today's episode is laughter. What makes you laugh? Is it a funny joke, a funny face, perhaps a funny story? Is there someone in your family that's particularly good at making you laugh? Perhaps it's just your pet, your dog or your cat, that does something that just cracks you up. Did you know that laughter is good for you? It's true. There's an old saying that laughter is the best medicine. Laughter is good for your heart. It can lower your blood pressure. It is good for helping you just to ease your pain a little bit. Have you ever hurt yourself in some way and somebody came along and made you laugh and you forgot that you were even hurt? That's because laughter can also be contagious. It can spread from one person to another. Yikes. I used the C word. I apologize. Contagious is not a word I want to be using today. How's everybody doing? Are you taking care of yourselves? Are you washing your hands? Are you trying not to scratch your face too much? I tell you the truth, I have been washing my hands so much. They have gotten so red. I'm afraid that at this rate, if I keep going, they might just one day fall off. April Fools, just a few days late. April Fool's Day, All Fool's Day is known, was this past Wednesday. Did you get to pull a prank on anybody? Did you get to get pranked by anybody? April Fool's Day is not an official holiday like Easter or Christmas. It's more of a custom, and it dates back a long time. Some people say that April Fool's Day dates back to an ancient Roman festival known as Hilaria, which sounds a little suspect. But other people say that Hilaria was actually based on an even older Egyptian custom. However it started, whenever it started, the idea of celebrating humor, of enjoying a good laugh, telling a good joke, is something that's been with mankind for as long as we've been around. There have been some great April Fool's Day jokes played over the years. Some in particular, one happened about 25 years or so. Does everybody know about the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia? It's that giant bell with the crack in it. About 25 or maybe 28 years ago, something like that, Taco Bell, the restaurant chain, announced that it had bought the Liberty Bell and was changing the name to the Taco Liberty Bell, which made a lot of people mad until they remembered what day it was, April Fool's Day. Another one happened a few years after that. Burger King announced that it had come up with a new sandwich. It had created the left-handed Whopper. Now think about that for a moment. The left-handed Whopper. People actually showed up asking for a left-handed Whopper. But my favorite April Fool's Day joke of all times actually happened in 1957 by a British news story about some farmers on the Switzerland-Italian border. The video is about 2.5 minutes long. You can find it on YouTube, but let's watch it together right now and see if you can get in on the joke.
It isn't only in Britain that spring this year has taken everyone by surprise. Here, in the Ticino, on the borders of Switzerland and Italy, the slopes overlooking Lake Lugano have already burst into flower, at least a fortnight earlier than usual. But what, you may ask, has the early and welcome arrival of bees and blossom to do with food? Well, it's simply that the past winter, one of the mildest in living memory, has had its effect in other ways as well. Most important of all, it's resulted in an exceptionally heavy spaghetti crop. The last 2 weeks of March are an anxious time for the spaghetti farmer. There's always the chance of a late frost, which, while not entirely ruining the crop, generally impairs the flavor and makes it difficult for him to obtain top prices in world markets. But now these dangers are over, and the spaghetti harvest goes forward. Spaghetti cultivation here in Switzerland is not, of course, carried out on anything like the tremendous scale of the Italian industry. Many of you, I'm sure, will have seen pictures of the vast spaghetti plantations in the Po Valley. For the Swiss, however, it tends to be more of a family affair. Another reason why this may be a bumper year lies in the virtual disappearance of the spaghetti weevil, the tiny creature whose depredations have caused much concern in the past. After picking, the spaghetti is laid out to dry in the warm alpine sun. Many people are often puzzled by the fact that spaghetti is produced at such uniform length, but this is the result of many years of patient endeavor by plant breeders who've succeeded in producing the perfect spaghetti. And now, the harvest is marked by a traditional meal. Toasts to the new crop are drunk in these poccolinos, and then the waiters enter bearing the ceremonial dish. And it is, of course, spaghetti, picked earlier in the day, dried in the sun, and so brought fresh from garden to table at the very peak of condition. For those who love this dish, there's nothing like real homegrown spaghetti.
For the record, spaghetti does not grow on trees. Hey, we've got a lot of jokes to get to today. We've got a very funny story. But before we do any of that, let's sing. Hopefully by June, we are all together again. And we will be singing Manhattan, which we've been practicing the past few weeks, the past several months. Last week, we looked at the first verse. Today, we're going to start from the beginning and just sing the whole song through. We'll take it at a slow pace, and then we'll try and speed it up over the next weeks. If you've got your song music, your picture lyrics, I'll hold them up like this, and we'll see if you can follow along. I'll try and stay out of the shadows. And we'll just keep going, okay? I'll holler out the page changing so that if you're not a reader, you can sort of keep up the best you can. All right? Here we go. Summer journeys to Niagara and to other places aggravate all our cares. Turn the page, picture kids. We'll save our fares. I've a cozy little flat in what is known as Old Manhattan. We'll settle down right here in town. We'll have Manhattan, the Bronx and Staten Island too. Lick my fingers, sorry about that. It's lovely going through the zoo. 1, 2, ready, sing. It's very fancy on old Delancey Street, you know. Turn the page. The subway charms us so when balmy breezes blow to and fro. And tell me what street, turn the page, picture kids. I am so smooth. Compares with Mott Street in July. Sweet push carts gently gliding by. The great big city's a wondrous toy. Turn the page. Just made for a girl and boy. We'll turn Manhattan into an Isle of Joy. Turn the page and we'll do our verse. The verse we made up is just about us. We go back to that original sound. Now it's early Sunday morning. Everyone's asleep and snoring, except me and you. What shall we do? Turn the page. Claude's patisserie is calling. Their croissants are our downfalling. But what if your goal is food for your soul? Turn the page, picture kids. We'll go to Judson and have some fun in Sunday school. Turn the page. It's where the golden rule is cool. We'll read some stories. They're kind of gory, like Sodom and Gomorrah. Turn the page. With lots more blood in store, like Samson or even Noah. Ask Russell Crowe. We'll buy a llama for someone's mama, and then we'll smile as we race baby Moseses down the Nile. Turn the page. Through all these lessons, we hope to see just who God might have us be. We'll go to Judson, our Sunday family. Thank you so much. I hope you'll practice this. If you want to, you can always replay this video and practice, practice, practice. Thanks. So this is the part of the morning where I usually say something about God, which may seem weird in a Sunday school lesson devoted to laughter. After all, God doesn't exactly strike us as a funny kind of guy. In fact, quite the opposite when we think back on all those old dusty Bible characters with their thou shalt not this and all their thou shalt not that's. But I am paid by Judson Sunday School to talk to you about God. It's true. In fact, I get $1.25 every time I say the word God. God, 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 God. I just made myself $5. So maybe today there's room in our lives for both God and laughter. Certainly, in the world we're living in right now, we could use a lot of both. Now, I have a suggestion for you today. Remember how I've been harping on and on and on and on about how Jesus once said that the kingdom of God is within you, meaning that this idea that there's a part of God that lives inside each one of us, and it's up to us to allow other people to see and feel and be blessed by that spark of the divine in our lives. We're all very different people. We all have different gifts. Some of you are going to grow up to become very tall, taller than others. Some of you are going to be more athletic. Some of you will not care a hoot about sports. Some of you will sing beautifully, and others of you are going to need a giant bucket to carry your tunes. Some of you are going to be great dancers. Others of you, like me, 2 left feet. Some of you will excel in math and science, and others of you could care less about that. You'd rather just read a good book. Whatever our gifts, we all have one gift in common, and that's the gift of laughter. We all love to laugh, and we love to make other people laugh. It's not easy to laugh these days, what with all this isolation stuff. And there may be a time when you find yourself this week needing to be cheered up. Believe me, we've all been there. So I have 2 ways that might give you a little help this week. First, have a seat, take a deep breath, and then make a list of all the things that make you happy. Now, I know there are some things that make you happy that you can't do right now, but isn't that always the case? For example, you can't make a snowman in July, no matter how much you love making snowmen. We have to find a way to make ourselves happy, to find the joy in our lives where we are right now. I think you'll find that even with the things you can't do these days, you still have a pretty long list of things to be happy about. The second thing I ask you to do is to consider cheering someone else up. The virus isn't the only thing that's contagious. I hate to use that C word again, but so is your smile, so is your hug, so is a kind word, so is a good joke. Many years ago in the 1800s, there was a man by the name of Mark Twain. He was considered the funniest man of his day. Mark Twain once said, "The best way to cheer yourself up is to cheer someone else up." Which, if you'll permit an old Grand Poobah to earn himself another $1.25, sounds a lot like it could be in that neighborhood of that kingdom of God stuff that Jesus was talking about all those years ago. Those are just a couple of things you might try this week as we navigate our way through these waters. We'll talk about more next time. So, by far the best part of my week was when you started sending me your videos this week. It was great to see you again. You're looking good, and your jokes are very funny. So let's get on with it. This is the part of the lesson I know you've been waiting for. Our first comedian is a very moving fellow. In fact, he just moved into a new apartment this week. Let's listen to Sebastian.
So, one snake says to the other, "Are we poisonous?" The other snake says, "Yeah, why?" The first snake says, "Because I just bit my tongue."
Thank you, Sebastian. Our next comedian, well, when he's not practicing his percussion virtually at home, he's got a lot of time on his hands to think about light bulbs. Here's Theo with a light bulb joke. Theo?
How many country musicians does it take to change a light bulb?
I don't know. How many?
5. 1 to change the bulb and 4 to sing about how much they miss the old one.
Thank you, Theo. Our next comedian, she knows my favorite princess. Here's Madeline with a knock-knock joke. Madeline?
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Elsie.
Elsie who?
I'll see you later, alligator.
Ah!
Thank you, Madeline. That's a nice knock-knock joke. Our next comedian, he is an actor, a choreographer, recently specializing in Paul Taylor and Merce Cunningham. But when he's not dancing or acting, he spends a lot of his time talking about or thinking about science. Owen, let's hear from you.
Why can't you ever trust an atom?
Why?
They make up everything.
Thank you so much, Owen. Our next comedians are a little camera shy, so they've asked some of their stuffed animal friends to help them tell their jokes. Here is Joali and Ajani.
What happens when 3,000 blueberries all try to go through the door at the same time? I don't know. What happened if 3,000 blueberries try to go into the door at the same time? A blueberry juice. Yeah. What did the police officer say to the popsicle? What does he say to the popsicle? Freeze.
Well, our next comedian comes to us from upstate, where he's been hanging out on a farm, milking the chickens and plucking the cows. He's got a little time on his hands to make up his own jokes, too. Here's our good friend, Oliver.
What is car plus bun? Carbon.
Meh.
Thank you so much, Oliver. Our final comedian comes to us from the village where she's been taking care of her baby sister, Cleo, who will be 1 in July. Charlotte, as a man of the cloth, so to speak, nothing gets me like a good religious joke. Take it away, Charlotte.
And the Lord said, "Come forth, John, and you shall receive eternal life." But John came fifth and won a toaster.
A toaster. Perfect. Thank you, Charlotte. And thanks to everybody for sending in your jokes this week. I'm hoping maybe somewhere down the road we can get together and do these again. I hope you enjoyed the jokes. I really hope you enjoyed seeing each other. And I look forward to when we can tell jokes together in person. Today's story is about a young girl with a lot of ideas, most of them not very good. It's called 17 Things I'm Not Allowed to Do Anymore by Jenny Offel and Nancy Carpenter. I'll find the right page and get started here. Ready? Here we go. I had an idea to staple my brother's hair to his pillow. I'm not allowed to use the stapler anymore. Can you see his head stapled there? I had an idea to glue my brother's bunny slippers to the floor. I am not allowed to use the glue anymore. I had an idea to tell my brother he'd soon be eaten by hyenas. I am not allowed to tell my brother's fortune anymore. Can you see all the lines here? Here's the lifeline, the headline, the happiness line, the heart line, and here is the eaten by hyenas line. I had an idea to walk backward all the way to school. I'm not allowed to walk backward to school anymore. I had an idea to do my George Washington report on beavers instead. I'm not allowed to do reports on beavers anymore. I had an idea to dedicate my report to all beavers that ever lived. I am not allowed to dedicate my report to beavers anymore. Can you see her report? To all beavers that ever lived, beavers crossing the Delaware. This is the beaver $1 bill. George Washington has been replaced. She has a note down here that says, "Beavers ate my homework," with a nice bite out of it. And her teacher's note, "See me after class." I had an idea to tell the class I personally owned 100 beavers. I'm not allowed to say that I own beavers anymore. I had an idea to show Joey Whipple my underpants. I'm not allowed to show Joey Whipple my underpants anymore. I had an idea to set Joey Whipple's shoe on fire using the sun and a magnifying glass. There's Joey's foot on fire. I am not allowed to set Joey Whipple on fire anymore. I had an idea to walk backward all the way home from school. I am not allowed to walk backward home from school anymore. I can turn this page without too much trouble. I had an idea to freeze a dead fly in the ice cube tray. I'm not allowed to make ice anymore. I had an idea to wash my hands in the dog's bowl before dinner. I'm not allowed to wash my hands in the dog's bowl anymore. And can you see the expression on the dog? I had an idea to give my brother the gift of cauliflower. I'm not allowed to give the gift of cauliflower anymore. I had an idea to order a different dinner from my mother. I'm not allowed to pretend my mother is a waitress anymore. I had an idea to tell the sad story of a mother who fell into a volcano. I'm not allowed to tell sad stories about volcanoes anymore. Can you see the mother's head in the mashed potatoes? And can you see the expression on the dog's face? I had an idea to pretend I'd been struck deaf when I heard, "Go to your room." I am not allowed to pretend I've been struck deaf anymore. And if you can see this, we have the symbols, the sign signatures for not pretend deaf anymore or again. I had an idea that I might run away to live with the kind and happy beavers. I'm not allowed to talk even a little bit about beavers anymore. I had an idea to say the opposite of what I mean, to trick everyone. I'm sorry. I am allowed to say the opposite of what I mean forevermore. 17 things I'm not allowed to do anymore. Now, don't you go getting any ideas. So before we sing our closing song, Be Not So Fearful, I just want to take a moment to thank you so very much for your jokes and for tuning in to this virtual Sunday school experience we're trying to have. I also want to thank two people and ask you to help me thank them. Without their help, this just would not happen. Running the camera, directing, and producing this whole thing is our good friend Andre, and working the sound is Michelle. We thank them very much. If you will help me just virtually say it through the camera, say it through your screens, and I'll say it on 3. We'll just give them a big 1, 2, 3, thank you. Ready? 1, 2, 3, thank you. Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Michelle. So our closing song is Be Not So Fearful. It is sort of our little mantra as we get through these difficult days together. It's by Bill Fay, a British songwriter. You have lyrics for this. You don't have pictures, but I'll talk you through it. We've done it a few times, and if this is your first time to hear it, just follow along. We'll do the first 3 verses, and then we'll repeat the first verse again. The first verse is by Bill Fay, and the second 2 verses are by me, and I hope that Mr. Fay doesn't object too much. Good, let's try it. Be not so fearful, be not so frail, weak, delicate. There's someone watching you, she will not let you fail. Be not so fearful, be not so frail. Ready? Here we go. Be not so fearful, be not so frail. There's someone watching you, she will not let you fail. Be not so fearful, be not so frail. Be not so fearful, be not so frail. Our next verse is, be not so nervous in these perilous times. Someone may look to you in search of the divine. Here we go. Be not so nervous in these perilous times. Someone may look to you in search of the divine. Be not so nervous in these times. Be not so nervous in these times. The next verse is, be of good courage, you will prevail. The wind is quiet now, but soon will fill your sails. Ready? Here we go. Be of good courage, you will prevail. The wind is quiet now, but soon will fill your sails. Be of good courage, you will prevail. Be of good courage, you will prevail. Let's sing our first verse again. Be not so fearful. Be not so fearful. Be not so frail. There's someone watching you. She will not let you fail. Be not so fearful. Be not so frail. Be not so fearful. Be not so frail. One last time. Be not so fearful. Be not so frail. Thank you again for tuning in. Hey, how about one last joke before we go? Why won't Santa Claus come down your chimney anymore? Because he has Santa claustrophobia. Have a great week. We'll see you next time on Judson Virtual Sunday School.